With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Are you ready to turn your passion for spirits into a thriving business? Welcome to Regard Law Group, your trusted partner in Central Kentucky. Whether you're looking to set up a distillery, create a liquor brand, or open a bar or restaurant, we've got your back. From licensing to permits, we navigate the legal landscape so you can focus on what you do best. Plus, we handle corporate matters, business litigation, and even help you raise funds from investors. Don't go it alone. Call Regard Law Group today and let's make your vision a reality. Visit regardlawgroup.com for more information.
Limestone Farms bourbons are like a secret portal to a world of rich flavors where high proof meets smooth satisfaction. Every barrel is meticulously crafted and blended with a specific message in mind. Experience clean delineated flavor profiles that will have you engaged from the first sip to the final drop, making your palate beg for just one more taste. Limestone Farms, bringing heritage home.
Bourbon Life listeners, it's time we all get a little toasted. With Penelope Bourbon's Toasted series, of course. This unique blend is a testament to the power of experimentation. After full maturation in a charred new American oak barrel, their bourbon is finished in a secondhand freshly toasted barrel to create a delicious variety of chars and toasts with deep vanilla and caramel notes. No matter your preference, there's a toasted blend for you. Start your one-of-a-kind experience at penelopebourbon.com.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. And with me here live tonight in the Bourbon Life Studios, my good friend, Stacey.
Hello.
You're on the wrong side of the table again.
I don't like it, but
yeah, it's weird.
At least I look important.
You got the step and repeat behind you.
I got the step and repeat, but
you just strike a pose.
I've got the he who shall not be named is sitting directly in
I
front
know.
of me.
I almost put you guys together just on that side. I should have.
Yeah, and then we could just stare at the blank wall. Like, Philip?
I know, we're missing Philip. So we need to get a cardboard cutout of Philip.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So when he's not here, we can just put him in and make, like, have a little prop so his mouth just goes.
Hold him up.
And then Matt can do the imitation.
I was going to say, no, every episode someone gets a chance to do Philip.
I think for every round, one of us should channel Philip and give his tasting notes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So I'll take the first round.
All right,
Okay.
that'll
I'll
work.
let you all figure out who's doing the second and third round, but someone needs to be Philip.
And if you haven't figured out, I've got my good friend and co-host, Matt, also here. What's up, Matt?
Hey, not much, Mark. You doing all right?
Yeah, man, doing good.
This morning, this afternoon, this evening?
Whenever it is, you're getting your Bourbon Life fix on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing good now that I got everything set back up. Just a little forgetful. That's what happens when you get old. Matt, Chad, who are you?
Yeah, talk about getting old.
Chad's here too. What's up, Chad?
I am here. Not much, man.
And Chad.
And Chad. Yeah. My friend, sort of. Yeah. Just kidding, man. Glad you're here. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see all you guys. Yeah. It's been a really weird kind of week. I'm happy we're able to get together. Kind of spur of the moment thing.
It's Monday.
I was going to say a weird week.
I meant the last week, the last 6 or 7 days.
You know, like the other day. It just means all of it, you know.
Yeah.
Ever encompassing.
5 years ago was just really weird, Yeah. Still kind of dealing with that. Anyway, guys, Matt, you brought something for us to drink. Let's talk about that. Well, we're going to do kind of a special show, right? We're going to focus more on bottled and bonds, I think. So, Matt, tell everybody what you got this first round.
That's right. For this first round of the Bourbon Life Podcast, presented by Liquor Barn, your source for all things Kentucky.
Hey.
Thank you, Liquor Barn.
Yeah, we are drinking all bottled and bonds. tonight on our show, whenever it is you're listening to the show. And so this is a bottle that I bought that I purchased quite a few years ago. This is a 1792 bottled in bond, and this is a store pick from A&L Wine Castle in my hometown of Ann Arbor, Michigan. These guys do a great job with all of their picks. This one is certainly no exception to that. It's a really, really nice pick. And I picked the 1792 because they are one of the few brands out of Sazerac that does a good bottled in bond, but also will do single barrel picks of it. And so while we're talking bottled in bond, let's rewind to 1897?
Way back. Yeah. Let's go back in our time machines.
Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep.
So Master of Bourbon, why don't you walk us through
Oh, God.
what we're talking about, why bottled in bond came around.
Bottled in bond. It was actually technically the first Consumer Protection Product Act passed. There was obviously a lot of things going on with whiskey at that point in time. So you had people that were producing quality whiskey, but then you also had a lot of people that were producing not such quality whiskey or buying whiskey, the rectifiers, who now we call NDPs.
Or blending houses.
Blending houses. But they
a
were
rectifier is a blender.
They were taking product and doing some strange things to it. So unfortunately, people were buying products that they thought maybe were authentic or even just regular bourbon whiskey, but had other ingredients and other things mixed into it. So
Yeah, there's stories of like tobacco spit, water, all sorts of
turpentine,
yeah, anything.
fish
Was there
oils.
any asparagus?
There could have been asparagus.
Maybe post asparagus,
could have
water,
Yeah.
if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. Could have been who knows what, right? So
But that would still pass as whiskey.
yes,
Well,
yeah. So people were buying this, and
Yeah.
there was no protection. Well, and it was also designed, to protect those distilleries and manufacturers who were making the product and doing it right.
Yeah.
Because their products were being taken and diluted and whatever else. So it was a means of protecting those guys, but it was also a means of protecting the consumer as well. So the Bottled in Bond Act, 1897, basically has to be 100 proof whiskey.
Yeah, so the Bottled in Bond Act stipulated certain specifications,
Sure.
qualifications, requirements that the whiskey needs to meet in order to be certified, designated as bottled in bond.
Right, and the bottled in bond. Then if a whiskey was certified as bottled in bond, then you knew that it met those requirements, and then you could basically trust it as a true product and something you could buy with assurance that it would be legitimate whiskey and it wouldn't make you sick. And
And it actually applies to all distilled spirits. So anything aged in a barrel can be a bottled in bond.
Oh.
So, the people who do barrel-aged gins can be bottled in bond, brandies.
there you go. Good point. I did not.
Yeah, we have actually had some bottled in bond brandy. Spirits of French Lick has
that's right.
their Hoosier
That's
apple
right.
brandy.
Apple brandy. I
that's
forgot
so
about that.
good.
It's a
Yeah, it
bottled
is.
in bond.
I got a bottle of that too, somewhere. It's in the back.
You would know.
Yeah, I know where it is.
But anyway,
Oh, you know
so,
what that
Anyway,
one is.
so the requirements, right?
Yeah.
100 proof. Has to be
100 proof, 50% ABV.
Yeah, 50% ABV. Has to be at least 4 years old.
Yep.
Has to be distilled in the same distilling season by the same distilling person, basically by the same master distiller. I don't think the language says master distiller, but it says
Same distillery from the same distilling. So if it's a blend of barrels, it has to be from the same distiller from the same distilling season. So you can't blend multiple.
and because there's two distilling seasons basically, like
January through June, July through December.
Yeah, so the barrels have to be in that same 6-month window from the same distillery, distilled by the same person, basically. And then it also has to come from they had the federally bonded warehouses where it had to be stored and kept, and you had the guy with the keys that could come in and verify that it was there from the government, and also for taxation purposes. But
I was going to say, what does that look like current day?
Well, current day, all warehouses are bonded.
all warehouses are bonded, right? So yeah, so there you go. So did I leave anything out? That's really the 4, I think.
Yeah, those are the 4 biggies, right?
No external additives,
Yep.
flavors, or sugars.
So it still has to meet all the other requirements of a bourbon.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying for bottled in bond in general.
Oh, okay.
Bottom line in general.
if it's whatever.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, for bourbon, it still has to meet all those requirements as well. Yeah, great. So now we got that. So what do you got? The bottle to bottom. What do you get, Matt, on the nose on this one?
So a lot of times with 1792 or products out of this distillery, people pick up on like banana and coconut notes. This one in particular, for me, I do not pick that up. I get a really prominent sweet sugary note, like Frosted Flakes. To me, there's a lot of corn coming across. There's sweetness, like a toasted sugar, frosted sugar, buttercream type note, almost a little like cake batter or graham cracker. Nice, like vanillas. The oak definitely shines through. I imagine that even though this is designated bottled in bond, there is not an age statement, but I have every reason to believe this could probably be older than the 4-year requirement. So I think it's getting a little bit of influence from the oak, some of the sweetness, also from that char coming through in it. But I wouldn't call it super hyper age, like probably not older than 8 years.
It's not like
maybe.
a 12 or 15-year-old product or something like that.
Nice nose.
Yeah.
Pleasant.
Chad, what about you? What do you get?
I will echo a lot of what Matt said. The Frosted Flake note came through across from me. Caramel corn, very sweet, like caramel glaze. Graham cracker for sure. Do get a little touch of oak. It's like a toasted oak, a little sweetness to it. Not a lot of spice on the nose. I don't get really heavy influence of the rye grain at all. But, I mean, it's just sweet, very light pour. So usually I think Barton stuff is around 7-8 years old for these picks. So definitely good that you get the oak on there, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's just sweet. It's not a lot going on, but it's a super sweet, direct to the point nose.
Yeah. Stacy, what about you?
On first sniff, it reminded me of like carrot cake. I don't know if it's like the cream cheese, buttercream-ish icing on it. And I don't know, there's just like some subtle like cake dessert undertones to it for me.
That's the sweetness is really,
Like everybody else has said, not a whole lot of like baking spice coming forward on that. It's not like a super overpowering nose by any means, but it's very desserty, and I enjoy this nose a lot.
Yeah. Chad, what's the mash bill? Do you know?
I think Barton Standard mash bill is 74.18.8.
Okay. I could not remember off the top of my head.
So usually, I mean, they have a higher rye content for their standard mash, which I assume their bottled and bond is that. I don't know if it's their 21% or any other. They distill a lot of mash bills, but I don't know which this is.
Well, I just did with the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We just did a bottled and bond pick. Of course, you're tasting everything out of the cask, so it's not bottled and bond when you're tasting.
And imagine this with like 40 less proof points.
Yeah. So
did they proof it down there on site for you or no?
No, but we did. Like we tasted it straight, and then we dropped a few drops in there to kind of get it down a little bit. But even after doing that, we all agreed, from barrel to barrel, which ones we liked, which ones we didn't. So even proofing it down, it changed the nuance a little bit, but it didn't change the overall impact. So I'm excited to get that bottled and bond at the Bourbon Festival next month for sure, because it's going to be
Gosh, it's hard to believe that that's already here.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the time this show comes out, it'll actually, this will be 3 weeks from now probably. So it's going to be right on the, we'll be there. I don't have much to add other than the sweetness. I was asking about the rye content because sometimes that sugary sweetness comes across with that bubblegum flavor to me, and I kind of pick up that little bubblegummy type of aroma, just the sweetness, like the sweet gum, those Topps baseball card sticks again. But yeah, carrot cake, I really like that descriptor, Stacy. That's Matt talked about the cream, the icing and stuff like that. It's a good combination, but not a lot of spice, like you said. So very nice. Well, you guys, we have a conversation idea that we've talked about a little bit.
We have several.
But
who's going first?
You had one to. Well, wait a second, Philip, what did you pick up on the nose?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So this to me tastes like if you had candy corn, but only the whites, and you mix it with a little straw, and there's a touch of some grape fun dip mixed in with a little bit of oak.
The fun dip, man.
That'd be this right there. I mean, I got y'all see my T-shirt, right? And I got a fun dip T-shirt on.
Do you guys remember that fun dip? Matt, I can't believe you pulled that one like way out,
Yes, we
dude.
know about fun dip.
Heck yeah. That's crazy, dude.
It's still around.
Packets
really?
of powdered sugar with a pressed
that white
sugar stick that you lick. But they gave you 2 of them, so you use the first one for all the sugar, and then you save the second
one, you
stick,
ate it by
and you
itself.
just, absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I always ate the stick.
I would just
didn't know.
put
bet you
powder in my
did.
mouth. Yeah.
Yeah,
you did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was a Philip comment.
yeah, Philip, we love you, man. We miss you. Wish you were here. Wish you were here with us on this one, man, for sure.
All right, Chad, take it away.
Yeah, tell us the topic that you had.
So the first topic is...
Hey, watch that table there,
Yeah.
champ.
Matthew and I had discussed is brokered and bond. So what I mean by brokered and bond
Yeah.
is someone who is taking from a broker. So what a broker is, for those of you who don't know, is a person who sells whiskey. It's a middleman, like what a broker does, like when you broker stocks or whatever. So there are companies out there...
Or a drug dealer.
Or a drug dealer, I guess. You know, I mean, sure.
Oh,
They're
that's a good way of putting
That's,
it.
that's the way to make it sound legitimate.
They're a
broker.
You know,
Broker.
pimp.
Yeah,
He's a broker.
broker. I just met
He
him.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway,
Pimps don't cry.
Gators, bitches, bed, we're waging.
That's what I was trying to
Damn.
I was
You
like,
wanted
should
to
I
say
say
that.
it?
Uh-huh.
I didn't. I
Love
was,
Dirty Mike and the boys.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
Anyway, that's the best.
Getting back to the,
Yes.
getting back to the, yeah.
What was I saying?
Brokered.
Yes.
Broker.
So basically, that
Have some
topic.
ham, Stacy.
Yeah. Mark, you want to broker that for her, but basically, my complaint is people who are purchasing barrels from a broker sourcing these barrels. It's not contract distilled for them, so there's a difference. Contract means it's produced for said person.
Right.
Mark, if you go to Barson Bourbon Company, you want to start Rucker Reserve, they are contracting that for you. That is your bourbon. Now, if you are buying from a random broker and you want to start Rucker Reserve, that's a different thing. I know that could be kind of a gray, wishy-washy area. One's produced for, one is a purchase of. And I think anyone purchasing barrels, producing a bottled and bond, is leading the consumer astray. Because the thing with bottled and bond is on the back of the bottles, you have to, or wherever it's out on the bottle, you have to disclose
I used to be on here.
where, I doubt they can see that, but every bottle has to disclose where it was distilled by that,
By DSP.
by the DSP, and where it was bottled by that DSP. So like Barton's DSP KY 12, distilled, bottled, aged and bottled by New Riff, distilled, aged and bottled by, DSP KY 20,016. So you have to put that information on there. And I'm seeing more and more brands who are creating a bottled and bond and not putting that info on there, but something there is like, what's this tell the customer? So the customer just sees bottled and bond. They assume, like what we talked about, what you said in the beginning, Mark, it is a high quality standard. It's Consumer Protection Act. So if you're already pulling something over someone's eyes for the first Consumer Protection Act, you're kind of already just wiping the slate clean, just saying, who cares?
So let me ask you this, just kind of playing a little devil's advocate here. So, I mean, what does it matter? I mean, if it's bottled in bond, then it has to meet those requirements of bottled in bond.
If they're not following the bottling requirements, how do we know they're actually following the requirements?
Okay.
That
So-
was going to be my next question.
so-
is who's policing that?
Exactly, because every warehouse these days are bonded. I mean, yes, you have to file tax paperwork and whatnot, but the government's not going to come and look and say, hey, this one blend of J.W. Dant didn't have. There's actually the barrel is actually 3 years and 354 days. So you are policing yourself.
Right.
I mean, the thing here is what's stopping every source company in the world. I work for a source company. Like, what's stopping us from just making every product we do a single barrel bottled and bond? Because a single barrel is the easiest bottled and bond you can do. Every barrel is bottled and bond at that point.
Right.
You just proof it to 100, make sure it's over 4 years old, and boom, you have bottled and bond. Like, we could literally just make our entire brand single barrel picks with bottled and bonds.
So is your issue then that they are actually taking barrels from somebody else and putting it out as their own bottled in bond? Or is your issue the fact that it just doesn't have the disclosure of the DSP?
It's a little bit of both. I don't mind, because some of the old Fitzgerald stuff back in the day, like some of those were sourced barrels and whatnot, but they came from the same place. But my thing is it's all about the transparency. Bottled and bond should be the most transparent product you can purchase. And I think it really just, I don't know, it drives me crazy, because I've seen some brands who even do put the information on there and they make the font so small
Yeah.
that even as I have called a brand out on the internet before for making their font so small on their label, they're like, no, it's there. And the guy DM'd me a picture of a zoom, like 400x times zoomed in, and it was printed the same, like one shade lighter or darker of their actual label, and said, yeah, here's the DSP we got it from, and here's the DSP who's bottling it for us.
Gotcha. Matt, what's your position on it, Matt? I feel like somebody hurt Chad in the past, but I don't want to hear what you have to say.
I think, to me, I believe bottled and bond should be more strenuous.
Okay.
I like the 4 regulations, but I think it should be like this prestigious designation that a distillery gains if they produce it. To me, it seems a little disingenuous.
Like watering it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like disingenuous to source a bunch of barrels that some producer put a lot of time, money, effort into making these, and all of a sudden you get them, prove them to 100, blend them together, and suddenly you're in the bottled and bond game.
Okay.
Who knows what could have happened? Kind of like Chad was saying. Do we know if you have 10 barrels that are 6-year and you throw a 2-year in there? Well, your average is 4 years. Do we know for sure that everything is?
Well, let me ask you this.
Happening for
I'm going to play again the devil's advocate as the attorney. What about brands that buy barrels from here in Kentucky that are a year old? So they're Kentucky bourbon, right? They've been aged, distilled here, and aged for at least a year. Those barrels go to California. Those barrels age for 2 or 3 more years. So they're aged for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So they are Kentucky because they were distilled and aged for 1 year in Kentucky. They could be straight because they're older than 2 years. So they could be bottled and aged. They could be matured for 75% of their life in California. But they can still be called Kentucky straight bourbon.
I think because the government in Kentucky decided that.
The government in Kentucky decided.
The government and Kentucky decided that. I mean, it's like arguing with Tennessee on Tennessee straight whiskey. It's still bourbon, but they want to call it Tennessee straight whiskey. So the state of Tennessee has done that. The state of Kentucky has dictated the fact that if it's aged for a year and a day here, it's Kentucky bourbon.
I get that, but at the same time, you've got people out there that are taking a product that they've aged for 3 or 4 or 5 years, maybe in another state. So, when I see a label that says Kentucky straight bourbon, I think most consumers are going to be like, oh, well, it's a Kentucky product. It's made here in Kentucky. It's been, distilled and bottled here in Kentucky. They don't read the labels. So is that misleading?
That opens like a whole other episode. I feel because I think that's a good
Let's
point,
jot
Mark.
that one down for a future episode.
Because the whole point, the whole purpose of Kentucky straight bourbon is the climate here, where it's maturing. One could reasonably argue where said product is distilled, not as important as where the product is aged.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, you can argue that. Yeah, sure.
One could say it
sure.
But
I would argue against that because the whole point of it saying Kentucky straight is that it was distilled in Kentucky.
Okay, but still at the same time, though, I think people have that, consumers, in terms of transparency. If you're taking barrels out of Kentucky after a year, aging them for 4 or 5 years in another state, and then putting it out as Kentucky straight bourbon, I think, people are thinking, oh, well, this was distilled and aged and bottled and everything here in Kentucky. And it's not.
No, but that's why the back of the bottle requires after a particular brand.
So that's where we're getting into the back to the labeling.
So that's where there was a particular brand we all know who were taking rye whiskey distilled in Indiana and saying it was distilled in their state, distilled and bottled by. And all they were doing it was bottling it, blending and bottling the stuff. They were sourcing these barrels. Well, they got sued to high hell and had to redesign everything from the ground up to put produced by. So, that was just several years ago. So that's, if it says produced by, bottled by, aged, blended, and bottled by, that does not mean distilled by.
Right.
So everything, if it's distilled by that person, it has to say distilled by. Anything that says produced means not distilled. Like that Woodford Double Oak we tried. It just says produced.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I don't think it's Woodford distillate. But back to like 9 episodes ago or however long that was. But so that's back to the labeling thing when it comes to bottled and bond. And, like Matt said, it should be like a gold tier thing for these distilleries. It shouldn't get watered down.
Okay.
But for me, And Mark, for you as a lawyer, you seem like you're wanting to go skirt the gray area there. You should be more into.
That's what I get paid for.
You
man.
should be more into the fine. I'm talking about being into the fine print.
There's no black and white, man.
So I'm into the fine print, but I want to know, aside from the Chads of the world, who's out there policing these bottles? Who's questioning that?
Who should be is the TTB.
Yeah, but how can they do that?
But that's what I'm saying.
How
How is this getting past TTB and other?
Well, the government's severely understaffed TTB. It's like 3 ladies named Irma in a basement somewhere.
So we need to take those new 88,000 IRS agents and put them over in the damn TTB, right? Make sure we were getting quality whiskey.
Take half of them, put them there, and then the other half can go tax the distilleries who are lying about what they're actually putting in their bottle.
Fabulous idea.
Oh, man. Well, guys, let's jump back to the whiskey because we're almost at the end of round 1 here. So let's talk about this. Stacy?
Oh, damn it.
You're on the hot seat. What do you get?
Well, I had a piece of country ham. If you got, sorry, that
Wasn't
was
it
probably
delicious?
It was delicious, but it is tainting my palate. But
Shout out to Colonel Newsom's.
yeah, it was delicious.
It's tainting her
I
palate.
don't put meat in your mouth when you're drinking whiskey, Mark.
I know. So I'm going.
You would know, Chad.
Can I defer for a moment,
Yes.
please?
Chad,
Thanks.
what do you get?
Marcus, meet Marcus. I get the buttercream frosting, the cake batter that Matt was talking about on the nose, on the palate. I didn't quite get that on the nose. The palate is super sweet. I really do enjoy this. It's actually very different from other 1792 bottled and bonds that I've had.
Yeah.
Because this one is just straight up that dessert train. Like it is, Matt and I try a lot of stuff together and we're always like, this could be wheated. Now, this is one of those where I'm like, this could be wheated. It's got a little bit of like a strawberryness to it.
Yep.
Graham cracker, the cake batter.
It could be a sweet wheat. I'm just kidding.
This I like.
Same. I'm not a sweet wheat fan. Sorry.
No, too grainy. But yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yep. All right, Stacy, you want to jump in?
It is very desserty on the palate. It reminds me of I'm getting pudding for some reason on this. Pudding. Like a vanilla, not banana, but like a vanilla, like
Custard?
white, like custardy, almost like a custard-filled donut is what I'm getting.
Those are
on this.
Mark's favorite.
Yeah.
I bet they are.
I bet they are. Yeah. Matt, what about you, man?
He's like, Stacy is full of shit.
No,
He's like really dissecting it
I get
with
this one. I get a little more spice right on front of the palate. I think the rye.
Matt's broken.
The rye.
No, I did get that.
Matt, you're broken.
This one to me, the rye comes through with like clove and cardamom, kind of like little peppercorn on there. But then it breaks into like those zucchini bread or like almost like banana bread. I'm not getting the banana note, but like
that
sweet,
darker sweet bread.
yeah, like a almost like maybe fruit cake type with there's like
that's good. Yeah.
kind of like those baking spices, like a little bit of like older mature fruit note, but it's definitely rounded out by sweetness and like a little oak on the finish. The finish isn't super long, but at the same time, like for a bottled and bond, I'm not looking for something to light me up all the way down.
I mean, it's an easy drinker for sure, right? I mean, it's 100 proof. I mean, easy to drink, very sweet, very dessert-like, like you guys have all said. I mean, very easy on the palate. A little bit of that spice, but man, to me, it just that sweetness just is like, woo.
Yeah.
It's like
It's really good.
Like it's there and it like lasts.
It
the
almost
whole-
tastes like it has a light toastedness to it. Because the sweet that's coming through for me, like on the finish for me, it's kind of weird. It kind of like died off, but there's still some of the oak tannins just kind of hanging around. So.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Well, let's take a quick break. Oh, I'm sorry.
Philip, what do you get on the palate?
Oh no, Philip was just here for the nose.
He was here.
I got nothing else creative for the palate. So.
All right, now we're going to take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more with the Bourbon Life Crew in just a minute.
Visit the historic James E. Pepper Distillery, located in the vibrant Distillery District in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Initially built in 1880 by Colonel James E. Pepper, one of the founding fathers of the bourbon industry, it operated until 1967 when it was shut down and abandoned for over 50 years. After a decade of historical research, the brand was relaunched and the distillery was rebuilt. Distilling resumed on-site in 2017 using the same historic bourbon recipe as when it closed in 1967. The distillery offers a selection of fine whiskeys for tasting and retail purchases, including the award-winning Decanter Bourbon. Intimate guided tours include time in the museum, an up-close look at the grain-to-glass process, and a complimentary tasting. Stop by for an old-fashioned cocktail and see why TripAdvisor ranks the Pepper Distillery as the third best distillery in Kentucky and the #1 attraction in Lexington. Learn more at jamesepepper.com.
Hey there, I'm Carrie Van Winkle, founder of Pappy & Company, where we celebrate family heritage and Southern craftsmanship. Check out our curated collection of artisanal goods that embody the spirit of Kentucky. From our signature barrel-aged pepper sauce aged in Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels to our luxurious leather goods inspired by generations of tradition, each item reflects our commitment to quality and legacy. Our line of gourmet food items are thoughtfully selected to bring the taste of the South to your table. Indulge in what I can say is the best bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup on the planet. A perfect blend of buttery rich flavors that elevate any dish or cocktail. We're big fans of the Bourbon Life Podcast, and we're honored to share the legacy of our great-grandfather Pappy Van Winkle with all of you. So visit pappyco.com for 15% off your purchase with code BourbonLife15.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the second round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight live in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it is my good friend, Chad.
What up? Hey, I'm wearing the cool shirt today.
You've got the cool shirt, Halloween.
I do. So it's only people who know Taylor Swift are going to get this. But it's $6 at Marshall's. So
nice. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good
Is that
portion
an
of our
ode? Is
listenership.
that an
Yeah.
ode to Taylor
All
Swift?
you Swifties out there that'll get
It's
your bourbon
a-
fix on right now.
I mean, hey, it's it's good concerts and
Oh, come on.
Anyhow, Stacy's here. Stacy, how are you?
I was good until I found out that Chad was a closet Swiftie.
Well, he wears that purse thing, so what, would you
That's
expect
true.
anything less?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You
some
saw
of us don't
pictures.
want to have a Costanza wallet in the back problem, Mark.
And my good friend and co-host, Matt, is here. What's up, Matt? Co-host.
Hey, not much, Mark. Always good to be back around the round table, right?
Yeah, man. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everybody's here. Mm-hmm. We are the Bourbon Life Podcast. Ooh, better start the timer. Presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support, the support of all of our sponsors. We could not bring you quality programming like this every week without their support. With that said, what are we talking about? Oh, we got something poured up. What did you bring, Chad? This is something, a concoction you made up, right?
So, real quick, this is not Rebel tenure. Speaking of what could have been bottled to bond, but
Labels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going
Speaking
to
of labels.
labeling.
more into
Yeah.
labels this round because no one wanted to give input on it. I think everyone was just too scared last time to argue with me.
I'm not scared of
didn't-
you. I just
I didn't
don't
get
have
scared. I
enough.
just-
I don't have enough facts.
I just gave you a counterpoint, man. I was devil's advocate.
And we going at it this round, Marcus. But this is a home blend I did that I proofed down today at work, actually, 200 proof. So
Did you witness this?
it is a blend.
No, because that would be Chad working. I don't witness that.
This wasn't for work, so I mean, technically it wasn't working.
Oh, okay. Just
Yeah, I
this
mean-
was spending Pablo's money on the clock.
That's right.
So now,
company
does this-
time with your equipment
Is this,
and the water from your fridge.
you know what? You need to quit using Matt's equipment, okay? So,
I mean, you just got it all.
so this is a bottled and, so you've taken bottled and bond?
So this could technically be a bottle and bond. It could be Chad's. It could be Watson's Reserve sourced bottle and bond.
Wow, man.
But
Awesome.
how's your labeling?
Yeah.
My labeling is stolen
sucks.
labels right
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna
you
say,
know?
'cause we're-
I mean, why not? At this
drinking out
point?
of a used
But
bottle?
look at the color. Look at the color on that.
Yeah. What about it?
She's a beaut.
She is a beaut.
It's a beaut, Clark. Speaking of noses, Stacy, what do
I
you
haven't
got?
even nosed it yet.
I
Go
just
to
picked it up, so
something
don't
else.
ask me.
I haven't either, man. So Matt, have you been, or Philip, whichever you want to do?
I just put a little bit of nose to it. It's got some nutty qualities to it. Up front, I think I get kind of that dried peanut brittle note. There's a sweetness. Kind of leads into like a Nutter butter wafer, cookie, cracker, whatever you classify those things as. A little bit of oak, kind of a.
What is a wafer?
What is a wafer? I don't know. Little skinny girl?
What's the deal with wafers?
She's a wafer.
I'll leave it there.
Wow.
I'll quit there.
I get almost like a toffee, like a, is it Heath bar or something like that? Is that the one that has
Yeah,
the
chocolate and
Yes,
toffee.
that is
Yeah,
correct.
chocolate and toffee? I kind of get Matt, you're talking about peanut butter, but to me, I don't know, it comes across almost like a toffee when you bite into one of those Heath, which I haven't had forever, but
They're really good.
that aroma just sticks out. I don't really get the chocolate, but I get that sweetness almost like a toffee.
I'm getting like nougat pie crust.
Yeah.
Nougat pie crust or nougat and pie?
Nougat,
pie. I've never-
comma, and pie crust.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if you can make pie crust out of nougat,
I
please, please
I really
show
want
me
to try
how.
that now.
Is that the Oxford comma or not? Yeah. Rachel
No,
Ray
I-
likes dogs, cooking her family, and
She's got a crack, baby. She's got a crack, baby.
There you go. Anyway, Chad, what about you, man? This is everybody likes their own blend, right? So
They do. Everyone's blend is the best.
Yeah.
I get the nougat. I get the toffee. I get a little bit of that like peanut wafer. It's almost like, it reminds me like that Reese's, like, because Reese's, not Reese's, Reese's has a particular smelling peanut butter, and this has a little bit of that, but that wafer, cracker cookie. Now I'm confused. I really don't know what wafers are, Matt. So
like vanilla wafers, man. It's a cookie.
Yeah, no, I know what wafers are, but
it's a biscuit.
But also, what
it's
are
a wafer.
wafers?
Yeah, it's it.
I get a little bit of like toasted wheat bread, some splash of oak, but
It's a nice nose, man.
yeah, thank you.
You know what Philip would say?
Oh, God.
What would he say?
What would Philip say?
It smells what the rock's been cooking.
Yeah, for sure. Very well done, Philip. Thank you for your commentary on
You're
that.
so welcome.
So this round, we got another kind of a continuation, somewhat maybe, but I saw a picture of a bottle. I'm not going to say necessarily who it was from. Several different groups, actually. There's a group of whiskey nerds, the guys that are the masters of Scotch and masters of bourbon. So they have a little group chat on WhatsApp. And
Well, you guys know it's a large group chat because there's so many of them.
I think there's 7.
there's 7 masters of bourbon, and now there's like 17 masters of Scotch. So there's 20-some people in there. So they're whiskey nerds, right? Anyway,
It's getting diluted.
somebody posted a picture of a bottle that I guess it was recently released. I don't know for sure. But then I also saw it.
It had to be one of the masters of Scotch. You purchased it, right? I would assume so with that kind of palate.
No, it wasn't. It was one of the masters of bourbon that actually had it. And I don't know if he purchased it or he just posted the picture. But then there's also a very influential whiskey influencer who likes to take pictures of a lot of outdoorsy stuff, who we had on the show as one of our very first guests. He also posted a picture of this on his Instagram account or Facebook. And the discussion was pretty heated.
I feel like this bottle could be posted by like the masters of ice cream toppings.
But
It's got so many absurd flavors.
It said that it was a bourbon, but that it was finished in a raspberry brandy cask conditioned on lemon pills. So the big question, 2 questions. One, because brandy,
What the fuck?
what's a
Is that the
raspberry?
first? Is that the first question?
What's a raspberry brandy? I think is one of the questions.
Do you know what brandy is?
It's a fruit wine.
Yeah, but I
No,
thought
it's distilled fruit syrup, basically. But
yeah. But I thought it had brandy does not have to be grapes. It has to
no,
be
brandy
No,
could
it's
be
a
brandy
fruit.
How do you think you have apple brandy?
Oh, that's
Or
true.
pear
Good point.
brandy.
Oh yeah. So see, I'm dumb. I just think about bourbon and
Yeah.
rye. I don't think about other stuff like that.
Cool, master
So
bourbon.
raspberry. I've never heard of a raspberry brandy.
So I mean, it'd take a lot, but I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But
so
it could be
raspberry
done.
and then conditioned. I don't know what conditioned means on lemon.
Usually with
peels,
conditioned,
lemon
that means that they're letting them soak in.
It's just soaked in there.
Yeah.
So, okay. But it was still called a bourbon. So it was a bourbon with all of this stuff. So
finished in, yeah.
that kind of brought to my mind, and a lot of these people questioning is like, how far is too far? I mean, have we jumped the shark? You know, have we Fonzied it?
Are we in the Jurassic Park era for bourbon?
Yeah, I mean, is it just too much? I mean, have we crossed over to that point where it's like anything goes? And will it eventually be to the detriment of bourbon in general? Because, you know, going back to, we talked about the rectifiers, talked about, you know, the classification of what actually was bourbon after the Bottled and Bond Act. You know, they had the big to-do about actually defining what bourbon whiskey was. And, you know, it has to meet the certain requirements to be considered to be a bourbon. So, I mean, are we pushing those boundaries to the point that bourbon will lose its classification?
No, I think you're a doomsday prepper on that.
Well, you
I mean,
took my sentiment.
It was just
Wow,
like
man.
2017, 2018 that the government just made them start putting, maybe a little before, you know, straight bourbon whiskey finished in X, Y, and Z. So as long as it has the finished in, it's still legal. Or bourbon whiskey if it's not a 2-year plus. So that all boils down to, once again, the TTB, which all of these every single finished whiskey that goes into a non-charred barrel has to be filed as what's called a DSS, a distilled spirit specialty, which is the exact same thing as what a flavored whiskey is or a flavored vodka.
Okay.
So in that realm, yes, you could lose the idea of what is bourbon, or how much of this is still the bourbon actually showing through, or is it just, is it like the Kessler whiskey finished with X, Y, and Z? Your bottom shelf $8 handle, but finished with. It all goes back to just a labeling thing. Now, I've been saying this for a long time, and we had this conversation like one of the very first Crew episodes we ever did, but or something similar to this, but not this in depth as we're going to go. There should be a finished whiskey category. So I think that there should be, like this new Riff right here. If this was the Balboa Rye finished in a port barrel, I think requirements should be that it is, it should not, Balboa Rye should be mentioned on the label, maybe in a box or on the back label somewhere, but it should say, whiskey finished in. It shouldn't say rye or bourbon, because at that point, once it's finished, it just becomes technically a whiskey. But thanks to the government, they say it can be called rye or
But see, you
bourbon.
said off camera you're going to argue with me. You're agreeing with me. I mean, because that's what I'm.
Well, no.
Look at him, he's like,
That's what I'm saying. No, what?
No, I'm giving my honest opinion. Now I'm going to talk to dumb shit like you did last time.
Wait a second. Hold your dumb shit thought, Matt. What do you think?
Well, I think just in general that we need to regulate labeling more. Along the topic, Mark, you were saying, like, have we gone too far with finishing? It seems almost like nothing is off the table anymore because nothing is off the table. The TTB hasn't stepped in. If you want to get these crazy barrels that are loaded with whatever, and whatever is still in the barrel when the whiskey goes into it,
Or
afterwards.
or I'm not saying that this happens, but I mean, someone puts some type of an additive into an empty barrel. Maybe they put raspberry sauce in there.
Well, that is how those are done.
Okay. Well,
yes.
I mean, I'm not saying that's how it's done, and I'm not saying any brand is doing that. I'm just saying if.
But Chad is. Chad's saying that.
I'm saying if that, for legal purposes, I'm not saying, Chad, that that's how it's done. I'm just saying that it could happen that way.
well, there are no repercussions. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
the labeling, you can just get off calling it
Sure.
like whatever you want to, whatever you need. Just like going back to the bottled and bond, I think there needs to be stricter regulations on labels, stricter regulations for who gets to have a bottled and bond, kind of like finished whiskeys. I think we need to get a little bit stricter on letting the consumers know exactly what's going on. If it's finished in barrels, that's cool. Call it barrel finished. If it's finished with staves, say it's finished with staves, because those are two different products.
Right.
Even though, a bourbon finished in an Amburana barrel and a bourbon finished with Amburana staves are both bourbons with Amburana, those drink completely different.
Yeah.
And so I think we just need to get to a point where we're being more transparent. Like,
I got you.
if your product's good, what do you have to hide?
Yeah. Stacy, what do you think?
I completely agree with what Matt just said. If your product is good, I don't understand why there's so many people like dancing around hiding things. But also, to play devil's advocate.
Dancing around hiding things.
But here's my thing is like, I'm also all about whatever is going to get someone into drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
Now, am I going to want this raspberry lemon compote, whatever the hell that was that you were talking about? No, I don't want that. And I don't think a lot of bourbon enthusiasts would want that.
Right.
So I don't think that obscure things like that are going to completely dilute the market. But it might bring somebody else into the game that may have not ever given bourbon a chance, is kind of where I look at it. But with that being said, they need to be completely transparent about what the heck is going on with that, because there's so many different things
Yeah.
being thrown around there.
Well,
That's just my 2 cents.
and I think when you say when you say it's a raspberry brandy barrel, it makes me think I've never seen or heard of a raspberry brandy anywhere in production. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't drink a lot of brandy, so maybe it's out
I
there.
would try it.
That just
Raspberry.
that's funny that I was just thinking, like, whatever happened to those like foil-necked wine coolers that your
Bartles and
parents
James.
Yeah.
like
Wait,
always
you mean what I used to drink?
Jays, yes.
your parents always used to have
Parents
sitting.
You mean that I used to have? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's like the same thing.
So
Bartles and
parents,
James?
what our parents
Yeah.
used to have. Anyway.
Like whatever happened to those?
Stacy.
Do those still exist?
I don't know about.
I think they do.
B&J.
I don't think. Yeah, Bartles and James.
Seagram's does some.
Yeah.
And then what was the Zimas were big.
Zima.
They re-released those for a little while, but I don't
back
know.
in like 2016.
I don't think they're
I sold
around
the
anymore.
shit out of those at Walmart.
Yeah, because the big thing with Zima was you drop a Jolly Rancher,
But I
into it and
put
it
a
would
rack
dissolve.
of Mio next to it because it's,
you flavor that. Yeah. Well, back in the day when they were a big thing, Zimas and Jolly Ranchers were. Yeah. Anyway, kind of got off the trail there. So, but my question is, and I just think or my problem, I should say, is that I have a concern that if we keep doing these things and we keep calling these products bourbon, this is a bourbon, but it has all this other shit added to it. Well, it's not really still a bourbon, but you're still calling it a bourbon. So you're really watering down the classification completely.
But do you really think that people are going to go for that? Because have you tasted any of these?
I have not.
I've tasted some.
But let's dial it back then. So if I take a wood stave and throw it into a barrel of whiskey, I've added something to it. So technically, I've added something.
But that's okay. You add water to whiskey to proof it. You've added something.
Which is allowable.
So is a stave.
A stave is not a new charred oak container.
It doesn't have to be a container. Bourbon doesn't have to be in a.
It has to be aged in a new charred oak container.
You can put it in a fucking bucket.
A container. That's
Well,
a container.
a vessel.
I'm not saying a barrel. The
but
law
you
says
can still put a stave in it.
Why? It doesn't say you can put it. It says you cannot add anything to it, Chad. So you're adding a stave. You're adding a physical outside object into that barrel.
Is it a flavor? I mean, here's what I'm saying.
And you're flavoring it with that outside element.
So the company you're talking about, they buy barrels. They don't buy staves.
But I'm just saying. I'm going to Stacy's point because she's like, how many people are going to be into that stuff? Well, okay, sure, but let's dial it back and say you've got a whiskey and you put staves in it that are aged in different ways or smoked or toasted or charred or whatever. You're adding something into that whiskey, into that bourbon.
So to devil's advocate to that, so you're saying Maker's Mark private selections are not bourbon?
I'm saying
Are you saying Maker's Mark private selections are not bourbon?
I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm just saying that if you read you're talking about black and white. If you're reading a strict definition of what bourbon is, it says no, you cannot.
You're talking black and white.
I'm talking black and white. It says you can't add anything to it. You're adding a stave. Okay, it has to be distilled. No more than 160, has to be 51% corn, can't be barreled at more than 125, has to be in a new charred oak container.
All right, so let me ask you this.
No additives, no colorings.
What do you think about brands who do a double barrel? So you take your Woodford Reserve Double Oak, you're adding something to it because you put in a new charred barrel. That's not the original barrel.
But it's a new charred oak.
But what if those are new charred staves?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the
virgin
thing.
staves that have never been
Then you're
used.
adding something. You're adding something to it. I'm just talking about strict black and white. So that's what I'm asking. I'm
But
not
you're
saying,
adding a second barrel.
Yeah, you're adding a new process to that whiskey at that point.
But you're still in compliance technically with the law because you've put it in a new charred oak container.
Yeah, and if it stays in the same new charred oak container it was originally, and you put a new charred stave in there, that's not an additive. That is not an additive. Additives are defined as sugars or non-natural things such as grain, water, and yeast to a bourbon.
Is that the regulation? Can you quote that?
I'm sure it's somewhere. But I mean,
But that's a good point. It depends on how you define
You
an
tell
additive.
me. Yeah, I was going to say because when it comes to tequila, that is what additives are for tequila.
Sure.
And food coloring. Forgot food coloring.
Yeah.
But those are additives to tequila. And I would assume that for bourbon, we are taking the same thing because we are just as strict on bourbon as Mexico is with tequila.
Yeah, I'm just just talking about black and white law, man. Because it says
It's funny because last time he was really wanting to ride that gray area, like he was humping it hard. But
hey, look, he's wearing the black shirt tonight.
yeah,
Black
he is.
shirt, man.
Not the gray
And
shirt.
to go along
That's
with
right.
what Stacy said, I mean, yeah, it gets people into bourbon, but also the government just says all they have to do is state what the base whiskey is. So if it's a bourbon, it's straight bourbon finished in, finished with, straight rye, finished in, finished with. That's compliant with the law. That's your TTB buddies up there, Marcus, that are letting that slide.
we need to get on them, man. Right, Matt?
Hire a
So
fourth Irma.
we need to write Irma.
The three
Tell her,
Irmas.
The
three
And say,
Irmas.
dear Irmas, will you please step up your game? Stop the insanity. No, I mean, I don't have a problem with the staves, obviously, because I drink it and I enjoy it. But just a strict interpretation of the law, I question, does it really comply with the terms of the law? I mean, does it comply?
It complies with the terms of what a distilled spirit specialty is, utilizing bourbon as a base spirit.
Okay, right. So that takes it out of an actual true definition of bourbon.
Yeah,
it makes
it's not a true, anything that is a finished product is a distilled spirit specialty. It's technically not bourbon.
Right.
It's not bourbon.
But it can still say bourbon on the bottle.
Because the law allows them to say what the base product is.
Right, which I think could be misleading to a consumer.
And it could be, but also at the same point, though, you buy a Toyota Camry, it says it's got 300 horsepower in it if you don't use premium. I mean, like, you know, how far are you going to draw? How far do you want to draw the line? You just going to keep walking until someone finally says stop, or are you going to eventually just cross the line and just say fuck it? I'm just going to get on board with what you're doing.
You know what? I'm just arguing for the sake of arguing.
So am I.
So let's talk about whiskey. What do you guys get on this one, Stacy? I'm going to throw it back to you first on this one. Yeah.
This is good, and I don't like to give Chad a compliment.
I know.
No, this is really good.
That was a beard flip.
Not only is Chad a master debater, but he's also a master blender.
That's right.
Congratulations, Chad.
Thank God I never got into fishing.
Oh my God. What I will say is, got a lot of like heavy brown sugar just on the very tip of my tongue there. You've got a nice warm feeling in the back. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Damn it. You guys are assholes.
Where's the beer when you need
that's
it?
the warm feeling in the back.
When I first started sipping this, I had it reminded me of like a lemon curd. How do I want to phrase that? I'm going back to custard again. Like a lemon.
You're on a custard. We're going to have to go
really
visit
freaking
Andy's
good,
frozen custard after this.
I was there on Sunday.
But it gives me
bad.
very much like the richness there. I don't know.
Matt, what about
dig
you?
it.
I left her speechless.
Yeah.
You did, man. Good job.
First time for everything.
It's got the palate on it is not harsh. It's got like a nice soft intro into it, where then it starts to warm up with some of the oak flavors. I would suspect that maybe there's a good amount of rye content in this. I pick up
Spice.
Yeah, but it's more herbal to me. More like thyme, lemon, sort of
lemon curd.
like some of those lighter herbs, lighter baking spices with it, almost like some mint or like parsley, like a grassy type flavor too, but it's rounded out then by some of the oak and the corn that comes through. So it's good. This is blended well. This is just another like good sipping on bottle and bond
Say
there.
that's very easy to sip on,
Yeah.
for sure.
Did you proof this?
Yeah, I proofed it. Like literally.
Oh, it's 100.
Literally.
It's 100. It's 100 proof.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Hey, what is this episode?
Yeah, we're talking about bottled and bond, aren't we?
Bottled and bond. Hey.
It drinks hotter than 100 proof to me.
I think so too, but it's 100 proof. But because I get a lot of tannins on it, I'll just go ahead. I guess
I do get tannins. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's got a drying effect to me. Not bad, but it's there.
Yeah.
Which I normally don't like, but I actually like it because there's so much sweetness on the initial palate that I think it kind of compensates well for the tannic, a little bit of tannic finish.
Yeah, I get a lot of citrus to go along with what Stacey's saying. A lot of lemon, a lot of orange zest. It's funny. There's actually no rye in this blend, but there is a good bit of spice, which I think has to come from the barrel. Which off air I'll tell you guys what it is. Okay. But I think the influence of oak from these barrels is really what led it to this. But yeah, sweet, like you said, just super sweet, soft. It at cask strength, it was a much better product, I think. But because it actually took quite a bit of water to get it down to this, but I'm happy with it. I don't know what I pay for it, but I mean, I'm happy with it.
I still like it, though.
Yeah. We're kind of on a dessert trend, man.
We
the
are.
first one was like really sweet, and this one's been like really brown sugary sweet as well. So, all right, guys, we're at the end of round 2 here. Good conversation. Good debate, man.
What are we going to argue about next?
We'll figure. Oh, Stacy's got a topic
right.
for us,
I've got a
I think.
topic, but it's not super argumentative.
Can we argue
but
on
we
that?
Can, but we can,
If
throw
you want
down
to.
about something.
I'll argue why we shouldn't do it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, everybody. We'll just sit tight and, or not, if you don't want to watch the last round. No, I'm just kidding. Come back, hang out, come back and join us for round 3 of the Bourbon Life Podcast with the crew. We'll be back in just a minute.
Three Chords line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The 3-Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.3chordbourbon.com.
Welcome to Old Dominick Distillery, a family-owned craft distillery nestled in the heart of downtown Memphis. Founded by descendants of Domenico Canali, a pioneering Sicilian immigrant who made Memphis his home in the late 1800s, Old Dominick is steeped in history and tradition. Old Dominick prides itself on offering a diverse selection of whiskeys to satisfy every taste. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur or a curious newcomer, you'll find something to love, including an 85 proof Tennessee whiskey, bonded Tennessee whiskey, a single barrel Tennessee whiskey, a 90.1 proof bourbon, and coming this fall, a cask strength bourbon. Each bottle of Old Dominick whiskey is crafted with care, featuring unique mash bills that offer a variety of high and low proofs. This dedication to quality ensures there's a perfect pour for every whiskey enthusiast. Old Dominick whiskeys are proudly distributed in several states, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia, Arkansas, Illinois, and Mississippi. Can't find us locally? No problem. You can conveniently purchase our products online and have them delivered straight to your doorstep. Ready to explore the world of Old Dominick? Visit our website at olddominick.com to learn more about our history, discover our products, and find a retailer near you.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and final round, happily, of the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Come on. You're not happy about it.
I'm sad about it, guys.
We could have easily skipped this week, but
We
you
could have.
came to all of us
I know,
and said,
right?
hey, we got an opening.
I think we
Should
all
we
need-
assemble the crew?
Excuse
Yes.
me, sir, would you guys like to
News
come onto the
team,
podcast?
assemble! Yes,
Yeah, you used the conch shell.
I did, and the crew assembled. Thank you, guys. I'm
Minus
just kidding.
Philip.
Yes, minus
Poor Philip,
I know.
the only smart one.
He missed out. Missed out on the country
he knew
ham.
better.
He missed out on the country ham too.
Man, that was so good.
Wasn't it
Please
good?
don't grit your teeth and say that.
Yeah.
What? It's so good.
It's so good.
Don't do a disservice to country ham
Tastes
like
like
that.
real country ham ought to. Anyway,
Mustard and biscuits.
don't you remember Purnell's? Anyway,
It's good.
it's good. Tastes like real country sausage ought to. Anyhow. So
Thank you,
we are
Liquor
the
Barn,
Bourbon-
for
Yes.
your continued support.
Can we get
Where
sponsored by
Kentuckians
Purnell?
go to celebrate life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Liquor Barn, for your continued support of the Bourbon Life Podcast. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you
the
to
Bourbon
Sure
Life
do.
Podcast where Kentuckians go to drown their life away.
Wow. Thank you to all of our
And
sponsors.
get a chicken salad
I think
sandwich.
I'm
Yeah.
going to shelve this episode for a few years. But no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but thank
can't
you
do that.
to all of our sponsors. We appreciate everything you do for us. This round, this came out of my closet. Like Chad, it came out of the closet. Finally, I forgot I had it in there.
Yeah, you kept me locked in there for a long time. You didn't feed me. You kept promising me you'd do things, but
You
all
didn't
you
put
did
the
was
lotion. You didn't put
I was
on the
gonna say,
lotion.
yeah, you just kept
Put the
handing me.
lotion in the
You
basket.
said you like them dry.
So, what is this?
God.
New Riff Balboa?
This would be the new Riff Balboa Rye.
Because Matt decided he wanted to do a bottled and bond rye, and I said, I don't have a bottled and bond rye. But surprisingly,
You do.
You do.
I do.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
You
that
had a
one.
couple.
Yeah,
I had-
multiples, yeah.
I had Rittenhouse, which I told Chad, I do not have a Rittenhouse.
Lies.
I do not remember ever buying a Rittenhouse rye.
Liar.
Ever.
Yeah, if the glove fits, I mean,
True dat.
I guess so. Anyway,
Hey, you didn't ask us how we were doing this round.
how are you guys
We're
doing?
doing great.
I'm here with my good friends and co-host, Matt. Matt, how are you?
Oh,
you're not a friend anymore.
no, I've
I said my
He
good
He
friend
said good friend and
and co-host.
co-host.
Chad, don't start shit,
I thought you
man.
said good friends and the co-host, man.
Maybe he did say that.
I said my good
Rewind the
friends and
Anyway, Matt, how are you?
How are you,
Oh,
Matt?
yeah, I'm so well, Stacy. Thank you.
Great.
Doing great. Always good to be back, having a great time with everybody. And yourself, Stacy, are you well?
You know, I'm doing fantastic.
Good.
Ready to dive into this third and final segment. Chad, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah,
I'm
Chad.
doing great. I'm doing awesome. Thanks, guys.
Great. So let's
Happy to
dive
be
into our
here.
next topic.
Yeah, it's been
since
fun.
there's no one else to talk to.
A lot better this way.
Yeah, Stacey,
Yeah.
hey, I heard you had a topic for this
You
round.
know
if
I
you
do.
could, please tell us what that is.
Oh, hey, weird guy in the corner.
What? Oh, me? Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
I'm drinking this new Riff
Who
Balboa
invited
Rye.
their dad?
yeah. It's a parents' night.
Wow.
Stacey, we said no parents.
All right.
You said they'd be Bartles and James.
There's no Zimas
that's a
here
good
either.
one.
Sorry. There might be some
Some
Mike's
what?
hard.
What was it?
Mike's hard. Lemonade. in the
Mark's hard.
Anyway, oh my God. Anyway, so what are we drinking this round?
We're drinking
Balboa
the
Rye.
Balboa Rye, as we've already discussed
I
from
know
New
that. I was
Riff.
trying to get you guys back on
Anyway.
topic.
Man, I love this
Anyway.
nose.
What do you
Before
know?
we get into the
Great.
topic, let's hit the
Yeah.
nose up.
Tell me.
I
Yeah.
love this.
I do too.
The nose on this, it's a great rye nose. It's big and bold, like spicy, grassy. It's got that rye baking, that bread note that comes across, but it's light enough and herbal on the backside of it too, with just like this touch of kind of a cocoa dust and oak sweetness. This is
Cocoa dust.
a favorite of mine. This is good.
That's what Matt sprinkles on himself at night.
You know, I think that New Riff does a great job with their ryes.
Yes.
So is this a 95.5 rye?
It is 95% Balboa Rye, 5% malted rye.
So, Chad, what is Balboa Rye?
It is a type of rye grain.
Okay.
From
As
Rocky
that-
Balboa.
I mean,
If you didn't know, I mean, just Google it. It's from Rocky himself.
But I mean, it's a heritage grain or
It
not
is
a heritage
a
grain,
her-
an heirloom.
heirloom grain.
Heirloom
Yeah.
Balboa Rye, exclusively grown for New Riff.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Because I think in their standard rye, they use like a German style rye. Now, I'm not saying this isn't German, I'm not sure.
So here we go. Balboa Rye is a rare heirloom grain dating to the 1940s and often used for whiskey in those days. It's grown exclusively for distillation at New Riff by the Fogg family farm in Indiana, bestowing a unique flavor from a bygone age. It offers exquisite notes of red and blue fruit along with piquant spice.
What did you say to me? I don't know if you can say that word. But
Chad, what do you get on the nose, man?
Piquant?
You get piquant spice?
Pecan?
You get
pecan.
piquant? You
I
get
don't know.
red or blue fruits?
you know what? Hearing the okay, so I do get red and blue. I do get a little bit of blueberry. I get ginger and cinnamon.
How many other blue fruits are there?
I wanted to say something sarcastic. I can't.
I got a blue.
My apples are pretty sad upstairs. I guess they're kind of blue.
Chad's got a couple blue fruits hanging between his legs.
That's a whole other story, right? Oh man, yes, that's
Those
an
are
entirely different story.
heirlooms as well.
Right. You're damn right they are.
Blueberries.
They're tied up.
I don't know how many blue fruits there are, but I
Why
do
couldn't they
get-
just say blueberries?
Blueberries. I mean, plums are purple, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
Interesting.
there's nothing else I can think of that's a blue fruit.
No.
Anybody out there, just email us and let us know blue fruits.
I mean, hey, in Willy Wonka, they said violet. You're turning violet, but you turn blue. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, blue and violet are pretty close together, right?
Well, it's a blue
Being on the
purple.
rainbow on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Blue and violet. They're both on the spectrum, kind of like you, Chad. But anyway,
Hey,
what else you get, Chad?
I'm still here,
What do you get
but
on the nose?
Blue is
Chad?
still a color away from violet, though. It's an indigo away.
Oh, that's right. Damn. I
Roy
forgot
G.
that.
Biv.
Yeah.
Man.
Red, yellow, green, blue, and violet.
Anyway,
What is that?
Chad,
Ginger,
whoever you are,
cinnamon,
you get-
citrus. I can see a little bit of that little cocoa dust, a little bit of that little powder on there. Yeah, just a little bit, just like a little like.
Just a breath
Yeah.
of cocoa.
That's right.
like Kaiser Solse. Anyway.
But wonderful nose, a lot of rye, a lot of grass notes in here. It is very earthy. It's got like a weird wet grass note to it, but it's not bad. But it's like fresh mowed lawn yesterday, but today with rain.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That's a fill-up note if I've ever heard it.
You know, back when my grandpa used to cut the grass.
So what's that chemical note called of the fresh rain? There's actually a name for it.
There is.
No, I can't remember. Anyway, we have to figure
I
that
have
out.
to go home and look at the barrelhead. I've got that. Has
Yeah,
all.
there's a word for it, and I can't think of what that is. That. Anyway, what do you get, Stacy?
Lots of grassy notes. I will echo that. Lemongrass. Coming
Yeah,
across on there.
lemongrass.
Lots of baking spice. The breath of cocoa. I can't get away from it. It's great. It's beautiful. Write a book about it.
Lemongrass. Yep,
For sure.
for sure.
But I get that a lot with New Riff products,
Do you? Okay.
which I love personally.
I just don't drink. I mean, every time I drink their stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good, but it's not
I
something.
love New Riff's ryes.
But it's not
their
something I
single
sit and
barrel
think,
ryes are some
oh
of my
gosh, I need to
faves.
go grab a new riff. You know,
Maybe you should.
You should.
That should be a slang term.
grab a new riff.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously don't think that. You didn't even know you had it.
Yeah.
True that.
Well, I knew I had. Well, he said it, and I knew where the new riffs were. I just didn't know exactly which ones I had.
Okay.
Man, Anyway, Stacey.
So, boys,
Yes, tell me.
give
me a topic.
Let's talk about a new topic. This one's not going to be super controversial, I don't feel like.
Well,
I mean, unless you guys want to fight about it, let's
Chad's
do
gonna
it.
argue.
I'm going to find some arguments. Yeah.
But I came across something a couple of weeks ago that kind of caught my eye, and it was about on-premise whiskey. Now, do we want to talk about what on-premise whiskey is?
Yes,
Chad?
because I didn't know until 10 minutes ago.
So it's when
Bless his heart.
you are going to give whiskey to just a restaurant or to a bar on-premise sales. Okay. So Green River, actually, our good friends at Green River, produced this 1885. It is an 85% a bourbon, and it is
85 proof.
85 proof. Whatever.
It's 85% bourbon
guys,
and 15%
it's been a
raspberry
long week.
brandy.
It's been a long week, and it's only
just
Monday.
kidding.
Hey, make mine an 85.
It is 75% corn, 15% rye, and 9% malted barley. SRP on this bottle is $21.99. But my question was, are we going to see more on-premise accounts, you think?
I don't think so.
No?
I think we will see, and I brought this up in a previous episode.
We've discussed that. I know exactly. Go ahead and say it. I know what you're going to say.
I think we are seeing the bottom shelf bottle come back.
There you go.
And Mark was like, I don't think we will. I don't think we will.
So let me ask you this, though. But you said that has an MSRP.
It's an SRP, not an MSRP.
All right, so it's an SRP, but why would you list that if it's specifically on premise?
It will be retail.
Okay, that's what. Yeah,
There will be retail sales for this. That's why they list an SRP on it, because you're not gonna list a cost for, hey, this is gonna wholesale for $14.85.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If they're positioning this as this is going to be something that's going to go to bars and restaurants primarily, but then they give a retail price, which
It's what Bullet did.
Well,
It's-
maybe, what if they're doing that so that people know what to expect, like if you
When they go to
ask
the
for
bar?
in a cocktail.
Okay.
So by saying like this is a $20 bottle, you're not feeling bad if you're like, I want a whiskey and ginger ale.
yeah.
You're not going to be like, I don't know, that barman is like $59.99 a bottle retail. It's probably going to be like a $10 cocktail when you just want whiskey ginger. So
Yeah.
maybe they're putting it out there so people know, like, don't feel guilty. This could be like your non-fancy.
So I wonder then, will it be retailed? Will it be?
Yeah, I mean, Bullet did the same thing. Bullet started in the bar.
Well, it's already retail.
It's kind of like
Will it be?
a
Yes.
pilot program, if you will. Wouldn't you say?
I'm sorry,
A
what?
pilot program, wouldn't you say?
Maybe, yes.
I like the idea of maybe not the on-premise thing, but I like the idea of big distilleries or a distillery kind of advertising something as cheap, bottom shelf, cocktail ready.
Don't set your expectations too high. I love that. Like, I think...
Yeah, nobody's putting lipstick on this pig.
You think
not
they're
right.
trying to come after Old Forester because theirs is the 86?
No. I think they're playing very hard on the old DSPKY 10 1885, old medley distillery. They're playing really, really hard on that 85. So I think they're just doing the 85 proof just for that, because it even says make mine an 85 on the front, which is totally something that you would have had on a t-shirt in the 80s. But what are you doing over there?
I'm reading I'm reading the press release they sent me with that bottle, so I'm just trying to get some information.
Oh, okay, Mark's trying to learn about it. Okay. No, I think what they're doing is like what Matt said. They're putting it out there in the open of don't set your expectations too high. They're telling us, like, this is meant to be a bar. This is meant to be a cocktail whiskey, bourbon. It is a bourbon. It is meant to be something that is affordable, mixable, drinkable, and that's it. It's not meant to be thought about. Tasting notes don't matter. It's not meant to be something you chase. It is just a it's a 1 liter bottle. It's a $22 1 liter bottle.
She fat.
She is fat.
She fat.
She's thick.
But again, this is, I think I have to go back to what I was saying earlier. This is one of the first times I can think of recently that a company is actually putting marketing toward their like bottom shelf mixing. I think they're really trying to get their name out there so that people know, because chances are, if you're going to a bar, you're probably not going to see this like up on the bar in the display. This is going to be on the rail. It's going to be on the line.
Yeah.
So when you want that well cocktail or whatever, you can say, Green River and whatever. Give me 1885 and
Yeah.
So that I think it's a really great idea. The on-premise side of things, maybe it's just to help like cement it in that market.
Well,
but
that's why I said
I
it's
like
like
this.
Bullet, because Bullet, their whole thing was like they started in the bar. They put their whole marketing strategy was put it behind the bar. You see that orange wrap around, it sticks out, but you're not paying $20 for a cocktail. You're paying $4 for a cocktail, and they know that. And you got your benchmarks, your Old Foe 86s, your Bullets. I mean, hell, what else is in there? Your Heaven Hill now white label 80 proof. And those are 4 big. I think they're trying to be like the 5th big well bourbon, like Matt said. This is something that's going to be, hey, it's $2 whiskey Coke, or old fashioned nights. While they pouring up this.
Well, and my thing too is thinking back to my bartending days, like Old Forester 86 was a big thing that a lot of people went for, or like, oh, that's pretty good. I want something a little bit more, and then you see all of the other Old Forester products that they have to offer. Case in point.
So
Green River they now have a rye, they have a full proof, and they have
a wheat.
Oh yeah, the wheated, and then there was their like standard release. So I mean, like they're coming out with pretty extensive line, I would say.
So here's what their press release says: following the runaway success of Green River Full Proof, which sold out a year's forecast in under a month, Green River will introduce a new bourbon geared toward becoming a staple in the on-premise. Correct. Green River has become known for its value and quality in the super and ultra premium categories. This portfolio extension offers the same approach to value in a different price segment. Green River 1885 will be available in 9 markets starting in August. So so it's going to be, so nine markets. So I mean, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yep. So we've got Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee, Michigan.
Hey,
there you go.
Texas, Maryland, Delaware, and the District of Columbia.
There you go. And the tag is make mine an 85.
Yeah.
All right.
We need like a Van Halen riff, or like Stevie Hagar or David Lee Roth.
Stevie Hagar, who's that?
Sammy Hagar?
Sammy Hagar, Stevie Hagar.
Stevie
Ray
Nicks
Vaughan.
Hagar.
Yeah.
I can't drive 55 because I can't see to drive. Stevie Hagar. Anyway.
So guys, what are you all getting on the palate on this one?
Mark.
Chad.
On
lemongrass.
Oh yeah, let's go back to we're drinking the new Riff.
Oh yeah. I mean,
confused.
Rye.
Is
we're
it
not-
already palate time? Have we exhausted a
No,
whole
we've
topic?
not. I don't think we've got. Did you start a timer?
I did, but was that the whole topic?
No, I mean I could have kept going,
we're
but
at
I was just
16
trying to
we're
go
at
with
16
that.
minutes. I
Might
mean,
be.
We still
Sorry.
got 10 minutes before we even try and wrap things up.
Sorry.
we're like 16 minutes deep on this one already.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Sorry.
You're supposed to drive the bus on this, Stacy, and
Well,
It's more like a
I thought
train
that
wreck.
I thought that there was going to be more
All right,
controversy.
Well, let me be a devil's advocate again.
All right, here we go.
we know
So,
what you
is-
like cheap bourbon, man. You can't argue
I
that.
do. Chad as a person does, but as the asshole who's going to argue against this topic, does the market really need a cheap bourbon? That's not great. If you're going to produce a bourbon that's going to go into a bottle, that's going to be meant for cocktails, you're going to advertise. It's marketing dollars you're wasting. That could be going towards a new product. Do you really need something that's going to cost $22 that you're just like, hey, forget about it?
Look, man, this is what I'm going to say about this, is that the working man needs these low-end expressions that are more affordable that we can enjoy, okay? So I think it's a good idea for these
There's
brands.
nothing wrong with, listen here. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I can't go in a Kroger and get it for $14.99, then I don't need it.
Well, but I mean, we talked about this before, like you said, Chad, that these lower priced, are they going to start making? Maybe they're the first brand to embrace that strategy and say, the economy isn't what it used to be. People are struggling to pay their bills, and things are more expensive. So why not roll out something that's a little more affordable that people can enjoy? And that's why I like the Beam Black, that 7-year. Like it's $25.99 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Kind of the same principle. So you can drink it by itself if you wanted to. I mean, it's good. It's not the greatest, but it's 7-year-old. And mixing it in a cocktail is great. And I love to just put it in a cocktail. I don't feel bad about putting that in a cocktail at all. But it's still a strong 7-year-old Jim Beam product. So I think maybe brands are really starting to embrace that.
Well, it's like I can't remember if I said it earlier, on air or off air. It'd be great by the pool. Like, if you don't want to make a cocktail and you do want whiskey and you want some ice in it, or even just drink neat. I mean, it's 85
Chad and
proof.
I tried this off air.
We did try it off air. That's why I was confused. You're like, all right, to the palate. Cause I was like, are we talking about it now?
Sorry.
But yeah, it's I love that segment. And I talk about that all the time, as I am a big fan of the cheap bourbon section and looking, for the next hidden gem. VOB 100 I always called it my travel bottle. $14.99, 6-year bottled and bond from Barton, and I could pick that up all the time if I was going to the beach, going in family vacation, traveling for work, and I can make cocktails, drink it neat on the rocks, whatever.
It's a very versatile bourbon.
It is. So I think there's nothing. I do wish it's higher proof. Like this being 85 proof. Cocktails, usually in cocktails, I'm 90 minimum. I'm a cask strength cocktail guy, but 90 to 100 is ideal. But I think that is a great start. Yeah, I am a big fan of this. I mean, like I said, I can argue against it, but I do think it's a good start to people. It may not be someone's favorite bourbon, but it could be their first bourbon at $22. Someone's cheap and they just want to get drunk. There you go.
And it's smooth.
We always encourage people to drink responsibly, though. So yeah, but yes, it's inexpensive, and I mean that's a liter, right?
That is a 1 liter.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting concept that they came up with.
I agree. I think it's cool. Matt, what do you think? Matt's asleep. He's like, God.
No, I do. I think it's a good concept. I think it's a smart move by their marketing department to post it up in restaurants and bars, because people then associate it right away with cocktails. And so when you're at home and you just need a cocktail whiskey, you've already seen this marketed like this is your cocktail whiskey. Give me an 85. And so when you just need something at your home bar that you're not going to drink on, but you have your buddies over and you don't mind just mixing up a batch of whatever or doing whatever with, or even if you're cooking and you want to throw a little something in something, something on the stove, or, smoke some of your ribs and put that in a barbecue sauce or something. It's good for that. And I think that they've done a good job greasing those rails and letting the consumer know where this product stands, what its high points are, what its faults are. So I think it's positioned well. I think it's a smart strategy from a company that's already led really strong with a lot of good products that come in at a reasonable price point as is. And the Green River Full Proof was, how much is it? 49?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think it's like 40.
Yeah, $45.99.
I was going to say 45.50, but I mean, hell, I rant and raved about their 90 proof 5-year when it came out.
Yeah.
Like that was my, everyone, at that time I was working across the street and everyone's like, yeah, where's Blanton's? Like, I don't have that. But hey, this Green River 90 proof for $32.99.
Yeah,
amazing.
the Green River Full Proof is $44.99.
Yeah, so everything, even their highest market products are sub $50. I think, a company that led really strong with great price point, that delivers with quality on their products, now kind of rounds out the bottom of things. They've shown us where the ceiling is. Now we're seeing kind of where the floor is.
Let me ask you this, playing a little bit of devil's advocate again. Because New River, I mean, for the most part, Green River, Green River is still something of a newer brand, right? Mm-hmm. So they've released quite a few that, premium, ultra premium, and now this is kind of lower tier. Do you run the risk as a brand
of harming your image that quickly?
To develop that perception with newer bourbon drinkers that Green River is inexpensive bourbon because that's their first foray into bourbon, and they don't know that Green River has? You don't think so? Okay.
No, because there are enough people out there influencing everyone and showing that it's actually good for the price. I think they've done a good enough job getting it in front of people, and it stands up. We tried the Full Proof a few episodes ago.
It was awesome.
I really like
it. Stands up.
Yeah, I agree.
The Rye is one of my faves.
Yeah, so I think it holds.
Chad, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think the only thing they should do is because Benchmark, Sazerac and Buffalo Trace don't shy away from Benchmark. They know what it is. It's not what it used to be. It's not the McAfee Brothers premium actual high-end Benchmark that Seagram's put out, but I think Green River probably should have just made this 1885 bourbon. Now, Green River's real big, which it is on all their labels. It's real big and prime and center. I think this just should have been 1885 bourbon.
Right.
Green River on the back.
A Green River brand.
And Green River brand. And now, so it's a product, but I think they should have made it a brand That way they could expand upon like an 1885 rye whiskey,
Right.
and then coming out with these different, even going back to the last round, even if they do like a finish, like here is an 80 proof port finish or something that they're going to put out that would go good with cocktails and certain, fruitier drinker lover markets. I think 1885 should have been a brand itself and not a product.
Yeah.
I think they kind of pigeon-toed
I think they
themselves.
could run that risk that people associate Green River now with inexpensive whiskey.
Well, okay, so 1885, what's the Barman, the Coors product? Is that like the 1873 or?
It was the year that...
Yeah, 1873.
Is it 1873?
I think so. Yeah. The year,
It just sparked up in my memory now.
Yeah.
Well, then
'cause-
Heaven Hill's got the Evan Williams 1783. And then you got Barton 1792, 1885.
there's lots of
Old
numbers
Forester
out there.
1920.
You know what? There's a lot of mathematics in bourbon, and I just don't like it. Let's jump back to the whiskey. What do you guys get? Stacy, since you're so busy
No.
on your
Nope.
phone,
Nope.
Matt,
Not
what do you
me.
got on the palate?
Sorry, it's been a second.
This is some good drinking rye. It's nice and herbal. It's got a lot of mint, some of that lemongrass, like parsley, almost like a green onion or chive note.
Did he steal your note?
Yes.
Up front too, which I really noticed on the nose, but it comes through on the palate. But then this leads into the sweetness. There's kind of like that bruleed sugar, almost like a touch of cinnamon sugar sweetness. I don't detect like any corn on this whatsoever, which if I'm drinking a nice rye, sometimes I want like just rye, but just a really nice kind of oily spearmint finish, good like extra Wrigley's gum, like double mint gum kind of notes too. Just really, really lovely.
Nice. Stacy.
I like a herbal minty tea.
Yeah. It does have a tea component, right?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope, that's
Nope,
what's
that's
jumping through
it.
at me.
Chad?
Yeah, so the onion note, I feel like this kind of like ruined my whole like,
Sour cream and onion
You guys can
chips.
fight it out tomorrow at work, man.
yeah. No, definitely get like the green onion note, a little grassy, very herbal. There's some, it's got that lemon pledge, and I hate saying lemon pledge note,
No, but it's
but it's not like it tastes like lemon pledge,
Right.
but it's got that very effervescent, strong lemon with a little bit of sweetness note to it. And that's what I mean when I say lemon pledge. Almost slightly chemical, but like a candy or something, but not like your French polish. But it's really good. It's rye through and through. It's what a good rye should be. I love that it's unique. It's so different than the nose with getting the ginger and stuff. But every time I go back to this, like you, Mark, I always forget like just how good some of these. Every time I grab a new Riff bottle,
Yeah.
it's usually the only bottle I drink for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So
New
Yeah.
Riff Ryes are some of my faves.
Yeah, this is really good. So thanks, Matt, for insisting that we have a rye bottled in bond.
Absolutely.
now hold on, let me tell you what I taste. I think it's got a nice. You ever had a hay field that's been set on fire, but then you grow hay in it again, and then you try and eat one of the pieces of hay while you're baling it and don't taste good? That's about what it tastes like.
Gotcha. Thank you, Philip. We appreciate that. So, guys, we're at the end of round 3 here, into the show. But before we wrap it up, any final thoughts? I'll throw it to you, Chad.
No, had a good time arguing. I hope the audience knows. Actually, I hope they don't know. I hope they think we really were just at each other's throats this time.
We were.
Yes, we were. I have fun arguing, so this was a fun episode for me.
Awesome. Stacy?
Always great to argue. And it's weird sitting in Philip's
Well, usually
spot.
we're on the
know,
same
I
side
know.
of the table, so usually we're figuratively and literally on the same side when it comes to
Yeah.
these topics. So it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to look at her in the eye, or at least one of them, because the camera's there. But
He's Popeye-ing me. No, good times. Just wish
great country.
our friend Philip was here.
I wish Philip could have been here. Yep. Matt, any final thoughts, man?
Always a good show with the crew. Thanks everybody for the good time. It was kind of
That's
fun.
what she said.
Kind of a good time.
Kind of marginal,
Yeah,
Oh,
but it was fun to argue, and I think we could
we could keep this. Could be a
Yeah,
series.
let's
we
get some
could, like-
controversial topics.
we could
Okay.
really go into the weeds. I think I know Chad and I have talked like quite a bit more on this, especially this bottled and bond topic. And I think what it really boils down to is just giving the consumer more information.
I think for everything tonight, everything we talked about tonight was
information,
legal, labeling, and information. And I think the next crew episode, hopefully Philip's able to make it here. Even if we revisit these topics, we can go more in depth. I'd love his perception because Matt and I were talking. He probably has especially on the bottom bond thing, would be like super close to heart for him for being a big fan of craft and whiskey in general. But I think this could be a series of just looking at these small flaws within the legality and the stuff with bourbon on how to, inform. So,
well, my feeling is, as an attorney, skirt those gray areas as much as you can. And no, I'm just kidding. You shouldn't do that. I'm just lying. But no, it has been a fun episode and great topics. Thank you guys for coming up with great topics and great pours. Thanks for
good pours,
Matt,
guys.
Chad, Stacy. You didn't bring shit, so thank you.
Hey.
But Chad, thank you.
Hey, you're
Matt,
welcome.
Thank
Brought
you.
my
Thank you.
personality.
Always.
Your magnanimous personality.
Yeah, sure.
yeah, that's the worst drink I had all night.
Yeah. We did not go down smooth, did it? Yeah. Anyway.
Never promised for it to go down smooth.
Oh, guys. Well, thank you
You need to
all.
expand your palate.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Anyway, wow. We're going to wrap this up before we really derail. But thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on such short notice. Sorry Philip couldn't be here, but always glad to sit down. And even when you had kind of a crappy day, it's fun to be able to hang out with you guys and have a few drinks. So even when you give me shit, I appreciate it. So
We didn't really give you much shit this
Actually,
call.
that's all
You
I
called
did.
yourself
the beginning
old.
of the third round, you completely cut me out to the point I just turned around and ignored you
Yeah,
guys.
but you called
so.
yourself old right out
did.
the gate. So you started this with violence. And we ended with violence.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yeah, fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
We need to
Yeah.
go offline and drink some more. So,
Yeah,
all right,
let's
guys.
do that. Okay, bye.
Yeah, but we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support and the support of all our sponsors. We cannot bring this show to you guys every week without them. And like Matt always says to our listeners, whatever time of day it is, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is, you get your Bourbon Life fix. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate that very much. If you'd like to reach out, you can email us at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life, or you can join our private Facebook group at The Bourbon Lifers. We'd love to have you in there. If you feel so inclined, just give us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. We really appreciate that. Don't forget to check out our friend Big Chief on the Whiskey Trip. He puts that show out every Tuesday.
Some old tub.
Send him some old tub. That's right. Tell him it's the best whiskey in the world. But check him out on every Tuesday under our umbrella, The Whiskey Trip. He's also on Instagram and Facebook. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up, send it somewhere tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the Bourbon Life.
Cue the violin.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the Bourbon Life.
Welcome to the kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company, where every visit is a celebration of tradition and flavor. Did you know that the kitchen table is nestled right within the heart of the distillery? That's right. You can experience the essence of James B. Beam's legacy while savoring their delectable dishes. Join them every Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a culinary journey like no other. Planning a special event? Let the kitchen table be your host, creating unforgettable memories for you and your guests. And don't miss their exclusive Behind the Beam tour and monthly Claremont Supper Club events, which will feature a top secret release at the September event. For more information and reservations, visit beamdistilling.com. The kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company. Come as a friend, leave as family.